Hi everyone, welcome back again. I am Petra. I'm a life coach and survivor of emotional and narcissistic abuse. I thought I would do a quick try and do a short video today on, because I always say that, but they always end up being 20 to 25 minutes long. But it is about healing from narcissistic abuse. And the question that often comes in is, how do I know when I have healed? And, I don't think there is one specific moment in which you can say, I believe I have healed. It is a course of different experiences that you go through when you are healing. And I feel that there is a big difference between coming out of an abusive parent-child relationship. So if you had narcissistic parents, and being befriended with a narcissist, or having to deal with a narcissist co-worker. So there are different degrees of the depth, the impact that the abuse has on you. It is all bad. The impact is all bad, of course. But I think with a friendship or with a co-worker, you do heal quicker. And when you are the adult child of a narcissistic parent, of course, you have to deal with PTSD, complex PTSD, and this can be a lifelong thing. That is not something that you completely heal from. You will always carry the memories, but it is about learning how to deal with your belief system, learning how to deal with how you interact with people on a daily basis. It is all about learning how to manage yourself. So I think that is the big difference. You never truly heal as or you never truly get over childhood abuse. It is always part of who you are, and you get to a point where you can choose how it is going to define you along your life's path. And of course, that is something that you cannot do on your own. You need the professional help. You need people to comfort you and to carry you through that journey of healing. So how do you know you've healed? You know, we all go through the grieving process of coming out of narcissistic abuse. Excuse me, and you will cry, you will feel hurt, you will cry some more, you will feel angry, you will cry some more, and you will feel as if the world has come to an end. You will feel devastated. And this is a day-to-day thing. Some days will be good, some days will be bad. It is all part of the healing process to have good and bad days. You will feel that you will want to reconnect with the narcissist. And then you will have a day that you feel absolutely liberated and you feel good about yourself. And then the next day you could hit rock bottom again. This is all part of the healing package. But I promise you that one day you will wake up and you will realize that you have come through it, that you are still standing, that you are still here, and that you have maintained your sanity through the whole process. It is a healing process. You need to allow yourself time to go through it, and you need to help yourself through it by showing yourself compassion and love. So be gentle on yourself. Just to back that up some, the relationship with the narcissist is an addiction at an emotional and at a psychological level. You are addicted to the narcissist, and the narcissist is in turn addicted to you, or vice versa, whichever way you'd like to see that. So in the relationship, you will overcompensate. You will always be trying to mend things, to give them the benefit of the doubt, to understand them more, to love them more, to give more of yourself, and you will always come away feeling depleted. So codependent relationships are characterized by a lack of boundaries, a lack of self-love, or maybe I should correct that. It is not a lack of boundaries. It is a very weak boundaries. That is how the codependent relationship is characterized, is that they're very weak boundaries. And of course, there is a very deep loss or lack of self-love when we are involved with the narcissist. And that is why we stay in these toxic relationships for so long, is because we don't love ourselves enough to remove ourselves from toxic situations. So what happens in a codependent and narcissistic relationship is that you will be wanting, as a codependent or as an empath, you'll be wanting to save, to fix, to nurture, to please, to comfort the narcissist. But this will always be at your own expense. You'll always feel a lack of happiness, a lack of energy, totally depleted. These are all characteristics. So the narcissist is aware of this, and they will pour salt on those wounds. So whatever you have been lacking, that is a wound. Lack is a wound. So if you are lacking love, if you are lacking confirmation, if you are lacking validation, this is something that the narcissist will smell. They're like dogs. They sniff you out, and and they will smell this, and this is what they continue to pour salt onto. They will pour salt onto your wound and will keep digging at that wound and digging at that wound, and this is why you cannot heal. This is why it is so important to start on your journey of recovery. It is so imperative that you break contact, that you walk away from toxicity. And again, I realize in some cases that it is not always possible because you may have children with a narcissist. So again, keep that contact with them to a bare minimum. The only way to heal is to go no contact, because once you have removed yourself from toxicity, that is when no more salt is being poured onto your wound, and that is when you can start to heal. So we go about, the more salt they pour onto the wound, the more fearful we become, the more we overcompensate, and the more crazy we feel. So we go about defending ourselves more. And in some cases, you can have an emotional outburst at times where you reach the point of just not being able to take it anymore, and you will have that emotional outburst. Or you will shut down completely. So you will shut your emotions down completely in order to protect yourself. So it could go one or both ways. It could also be a combination of that. Speaking from my own experience, I would shut down my emotions. I would not let the narcissists in my life know what I was going through, that I was hurting on the inside, that I was disappointed, or whatever emotion it was that I was feeling. I would shut that down. And then it became too much, and I would have this huge emotional outburst. So it could be a combination of those two as well. In order to start on your journey of healing, I'm just going to repeat that again. You need to go no contact, or at least bring your contact to a bare minimum. And, when we have come out of these relationships, when we have been discarded, we will go through this sometimes unconscious inner conflict that we have. We have our inner critic who is continuously bringing us down, saying, maybe it was your fault. Maybe you didn't see things right. Maybe you should go back and repair things. Maybe. So you have all these doubts in your mind and you keep on questioning yourself. And this is the turmoil that you go through. This is the inner conflict that we all experience. But this inner conflict is the root of all our suffering. And when we are courageous enough to look at those wounds, that is when we uncover them. And this is when we become aware of the emotional bleeding that we are going through. And in order to stop that emotional bleeding, it is imperative to clean out those wounds and to heal them to whatever degree. As I said, when you come out of a narcissistic parent-child relationship, it is so part of your existence to think a certain way, to be a certain way, to interact with others in a certain way, that you cannot totally rid yourself of that. It will be a continuous struggle to some degree to realize, to become aware of how you interact with others, to become aware of how you put yourself out in the world. And when you become aware of that, when you become mindful of that, that is when you are able to correct your behavior at that point, or correct the way you interact with others. So it is not something that can completely go away, but it is something that you can become mindful and aware of. So, as I just said, the unconscious, to some degree, in a conflict is the root of our suffering. And also emotional paralysis. This is what paralyzes us to some degree. And if I just look at my own husband, who is the adult child of a narcissistic mother, he does at some point when when we are in a conflict, the two of us, and I raise my voice or I say something that is said out of anger, or said out of fear, he will shut down emotionally and become paralyzed in that and will not be able to lift himself out of that. So this is all part of your makeup as an adult child of a narcissistic parent. So now, when we expose those roots, when we expose those wounds from our childhood, we have a chance to end the suffering. And the suffering can come out in various ways. It can be that you suffer from chronic loneliness, that you suffer from depression, that you suffer from guilt or sadness, which, the sadness comes from being the defeated underdog. The sadness comes from not being able to get right in your mind and in your feeling, in your emotions, why your parents mistreated you to such a degree. The guilt as well, the guilt, which is what a lot of children of narcissistic parents go through. They are laid on with guilt. The guilt is really laid on thick. And this is also part of the inner conflict, where you will feel guilty about every single aspect in your life. Doesn't matter how small or how big it is, you will feel guilty about that. If someone reprimands you for something at an adult level, and you get into a conflict in your adult life, you will take on the guilt. If you get into a conflict with your spouse, you will have that guilt show up again. You will feel guilt towards your children, maybe, that you cannot give them what you lacked in your childhood, which is a normal thing. What you were not shown in childhood, you cannot give to your own children. It is something that you have to learn. You have to learn a whole different set of behavior patterns. So codependents find it very hard to heal from narcissistic abuse because, or they find it very, let me put it this way, they find it very hard to let go, because in most cases you are still holding on to the hope of having those loving parents. That is your child's desire, your heart's desire, to have those loving parents who understand you and who love you unconditionally. And because you're still holding on to that hope, this is what makes it more difficult for you to let go of certain situations, to let go of certain behavior patterns, to let go of your belief system. And this, again, I am not a doctor. I am not getting this from any medical book. This is something that I have seen in my own marriage, being married to an adult child of a narcissistic parent. There is a lot to be said about that, but I just wanted to give you a few tips. I have some notes here again about loving yourself when you are going through your healing journey. It is a journey. It is, it's falling down 10 times, getting up 11 times, and just take your healing day by day. Don't expect too much from yourself. Just take it day by day. You cannot oversee the next 5 years or the next 10 years. It is all about being mindful and living in the moment and taking each day as it comes. That is all you need to do on your healing journey. And if there are bad days, that is the way it is. When there are good days, you can celebrate those good days. So loving yourself through your healing journey is about toning down your inner critic and having more self-acceptance. So if you base your self-worth on external factors, on external validation, you will always come up short. Your self-worth is about understanding yourself, accepting who you are, getting rid of that inner critic, or maybe not really getting rid of it, but softening that inner voice, that critical voice on the inside. You can turn the volume down. You don't have to listen to the inner critic every single day on volume, I don't know, 100. You can turn that volume down. And that is how you get back your self-worth. There are certain rituals that you can do where you validate yourself more. You validate your experiences. You validate what you have been through. You validate what you're feeling. If you're feeling angry, that's fine. If you're feeling sad, that's okay. If you're feeling pain, then you are feeling pain. It's not about trying to push those feelings aside and ignoring them. It is about validating how you are feeling and what you are thinking, and being mindful of that again, looking to see what can I do today to just change maybe one experience in my day. That is all that it is about, taking things one step at a time, baby steps. So it's about it's about shifting your perception of yourself. So there are a few things that you can do. One that helped me was starting a daily ritual, a daily practice. And that is, I actually start it the night before. Before I go to bed, I meditate. When I get up in the morning, I meditate, even if it is for 5 minutes. After meditation, I will try every single day to go out for a walk or go out for a run to get that energy pumping. When you are feeling depressed, the last thing you want to do is go outside and walk and get active. But that is the way you are going to shift your energy, get it moving, because your energy has become stagnant and it needs to start moving again. So if that means taking a brisk walk 20 minutes in your day, then do that. You will find when you have done it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you will notice a subtle shift in your energy. And that is what it is all about. You want to make that shift. So that can be a spiritual practice or a daily ritual. Have a catch up with yourself every single evening or every single morning. Just check yourself and say, how are you doing today? How are you feeling today? What is it that you would like to experience today? What is that one little thing you can do today to make a difference for yourself? These are the kinds of conversations that are so valuable and so loving towards yourself as well. You also need to get emotionally real, emotionally honest with yourself. So as I just said, if you are feeling sad, acknowledge that. If you're feeling happy, celebrate that. If you're feeling hurt, speak to your hurt. Write down your feelings, why you are feeling hurt, why you are feeling this way. It helps to write out what you are going through, to move that energy again. So become brutally honest with yourself. Look at your emotions, explore them. Don't be afraid of them. Emotions are always there to tell us something about ourselves. So if you are willing to look at them, to show up vulnerable, and look at what they are trying to tell you and listen to that emotion, you are going to get some great answers. So have that very intimate conversation with yourself. Surrender to what is. Just surrender to what is, to the point that you have arrived at in your life. Surrender to that and be okay with it, because you cannot get something in the future if you are not okay with now. So if that means that you have been discarded, if that means you have broken off the narcissistic relationship, be okay with that. Be okay with the fact that you are going through a grieving process, that you may be feeling rotten at that point. Be okay with it. Because when you try to push aside your feelings or emotions, you are denying yourself. And it is really all about accepting yourself in order to move on, to take that next step on your journey of healing. You also need to honor your potential. I'm just looking down at my notes, forgive me. Honoring your potential. You know, the way to honor your potential is again to explore it. It can be a feeling. You know that you have a certain potential, maybe a certain gift, maybe a certain talent. But because you have such high expectations of yourself, you will want everything to be perfect. And that is why you do not take that leap of faith to explore your potential, to explore your talent, whatever it may be. I knew, for example, just to give you an example, I knew that I wanted to make videos about spirituality, about coaching, about healing. I didn't know where to start, but I knew I wanted to do it. So I made my first video, of course, last year, October 2016, and I wasn't sure what to talk about. I had written down 2 things on a piece of paper, I think it was, and I just thought I'm going to switch the camera on and just see what happens. And that is how I started to explore my potential. I was dead scared of the camera. I was scared of my own voice. I didn't like the sound of my own voice. But I thought, this is something that I want to do. This is something that keeps pulling at my heartstrings. So let me explore it. Once I've explored it, then I can make the decision about whether to continue making these kinds of videos or whether to just stop. But at least take the time to explore your talent. And if you do not know what that talent is yet, write it down. What are the things that you enjoy doing? What do you like to experience? Whatever it can be craft work, it can be painting, it can be speaking, it can be making videos, it can be writing short poems, whatever it may be, explore that. That is getting to know yourself. That is getting to accept yourself as well. And when you have accepted that and you see that there's even more potential involved, that is when you can develop that talent or that gift. This is all part of the healing. A very big one is forgiving yourself. You need to forgive yourself. And that comes back to that inner critic again. When we are feeling bad, when we feel that our world has come crushing down around us because the relationship with the narcissist has ended, this is when you need to look at yourself and say, I forgive you for feeling this way. I forgive you for staying in a toxic relationship for so long. I forgive you and I love you. Those are very important things to say to yourself. And if you find that you cannot speak them yet, then you can write them down. Write them in a letter. I forgive you. I'm sorry for what I put you through. I'm sorry that you tolerated it for so long, but I love you anyway and I forgive you for it. That is all part of the forgiving game. The forgiving gift, I should say. It is not about forgiving the narcissist. It is not about forgiving others. Forgiveness comes from within. Forgiveness allows you to move on from where you are. Another point that I want to make is making fun an important factor in your life. And whether that is having fun with your children, I don't know, having a water balloon fight during the summer, whether it is making silly craft works for Christmas, whether it is cracking really corny jokes, whether it is, I don't know, laughing at your own quirkiness or your own strange things that you may do, your weird habits, just having a good old laugh at that. Or getting on YouTube. There you go. There are so many great, funny videos that you can watch just to tickle your laughter muscle, and to get that going, because laughter is really a great medicine. If you can just laugh at the small things, if you can just feel that, you know, your heart expanding when you can just have a good old laugh and not judge yourself for it, not put yourself down for it, not feel guilty for laughing, just go ahead and have a good laugh. Make laughing, make fun a very important factor in your life. I think the last thing, I have very many here, but I see I'm running out of time. The last thing is becoming aware of self-neglect. Where are you neglecting yourself? Where do you need to step up your game and practice self-care instead of self-neglect? Because we are all good at it. We are all so good at neglecting ourselves. When you are in a narcissistic relationship, we tend to always give the care to the narcissist. As I said at the beginning of the video, we overcompensate. We are caring towards the narcissist. And in doing so, we are neglecting ourselves. So look at that self-neglect and flip the switch. Turn your game into a self-care game and not a self-neglect game. This is so important. Whether it is going to buy yourself a new perfume, whether it is looking at yourself in the mirror in the morning while you're doing your hair for the guys, or for the women, your makeup, or, you know, just checking to see what you look like, if your clothes look good on you, or whatever it is, look at yourself in the mirror and look deep into your eyes. It is not just about noticing your reflection. It is about looking into your own eyes in the mirror and just say something simple like, I love you. I'm going to make it a good day for you today. I appreciate you. Those are the little words, one or two little words with such a deep meaning. And I know it will feel so strange when you first start to say that to yourself. But the more you say it, the more you are going to change your belief system, the more you will start believing it. And this is how you can make that shift. Even if it is a subtle shift, it does not matter. It is still a shift. So to come back to the question of when do I know when I have healed, again, you need to go through the motions. Don't try and suppress those emotions. You need to go through it in order to come out at the other side. And there will come a time when you will realize that you are more at peace, that you smile more often, that you experience little pieces of joy in your everyday life. This is when you know you are on the right track, and that is something you need to cherish. So I hope that has answered some of your questions, because as I said, this is a question that often comes up in the emails that I receive from you. Please add your comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more in the future, then please subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to speaking to you all again very soon. I hope to speak to you before Christmas again. I will make another video, looking forward to that, maybe some Christmassy video. And take care of yourselves, and remember, it's not about self-neglect, it's about self-care. Bye for now, and thank you for allowing me into your homes and into your hearts and onto your screens. And take care, and speak to you all very soon. Bye for now.